Hello everybody, it's Glass Update here, and today I am interviewing...
My name is George, and I'm with Warp Charge Gaming. How's it going?
It's going great, thanks. What's the time there?
It is 1 o'clock, so we're
Oh,
six hour difference, I think. 7 o'clock
okay.
your time.
Not terrible, not terrible, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 6:15. So there's actually still some natural light here, which has not been the case with a lot of my other interviews. So this is a nice
Sure.
change that I'm not having to wake up at 4 a.m. So some people might not know you, which of course is a travesty. Do you want to
Oh,
explain Warp Charge Gaming?
yeah, I'd love to. About a year and a half now, I've been a content producer for. It started out with Warhammer 40K as our primary, and ever since Kill Team was released, I kind of fell in love. I was looking for a new outlet to enjoy myself. I was kind of getting a little petered off with 40K in general. The meta was getting a little stale for me, and I started out playing Shadespire as my first skirmish game. And when Kill Team came off, I was head over heels, played the crap out of it, trained a ton for Nova, and since then we've created a ton of Kill Team battle reports now as well, and it's a big staple of our channel. We've actually pulled in quite a bit of followers from Kill Team. I found that the players, there's a lot more newer players in Kill Team, so the hunger to digest content is that much higher than 40K. There's been a lot of 40K bat reps out there, while a lot more light when it comes to Kill Team. So that's been great for our channel. And basically, we're a few hundred videos up now. Been going over a year, and I had a vision and a dream, and I've been going full time, being a content producer for the last year and a half.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. God, I can't
Uh,
imagine being being my sole job. So that's amazing that you've managed to make that a thing.
well,
And I
it
believe you've managed to do that through, I assume, where you are now.
Yeah. I'm here in Battleground, so that's been a big portion of what helped us get off the ground. I'm a musician. It was my for the last 12 years. That's what I've been a DJ, producer, audio engineer, set up sound systems and things of that nature. I was working at Guitar Center, a music retail shop, for about 10 years,
You have the beard
and
for it, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. The beard power. So by stacking up, some audio skills, that was my way of contributing to the hobby. I'm a terrible craftsman when it comes to painting and building models. I hate gluing things, but I want my stuff to look pretty. And so my way of contributing to the hobby was to integrate technology and use my skills with, computers. So that's kind of how I got off the ground with it. And over the last year, I partnered with my local gaming store, Battlegrounds, and they've been just fantastic at wanting to build their community and at kind of the right place, right time. I was a great person to fill the role of kind of waving the flag of miniature wargaming. And since then, over the last year, they just recently, a couple months ago, renovated the store and expanded its size. And that was it gave me the capability to move my entire rig into the store. So that's been fantastic. Since February, we've had our full rig here in the store and been able to meet a lot more gamers and get a lot more content created, kind of making a bigger splash in the community. And we throw a lot of tournaments. I'm now doing 3 tournaments a month. This month, I'm actually doing 4 tournaments: Warhammer 40K, Kill Team, Age of Sigmar, and Age of Sigmar Champions, the card game. And so through that collaboration, they've hooked me up with all kinds of benefits for being in the store here, and it's been fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome. Obviously, I've checked your channel out, but you haven't streamed any champions, have you? Kill Team
No,
Champions? Oh, Kill
it's
Team
re- it's
Champions.
really it's really tough to stream card games, because I really want to show the other person's hand, and you want to talk tactics, but there's so much you can't give away what's in your hand. It's a difficult thing to record. I did do it with Shadespire, where you had cards in your hand and ended up having to set up 3 cameras, one top down and one on each side of the person behind their cards. But it's so difficult to see the clarity of the card. So it's a challenging thing. What is easy, though, is you can stream playing on the app, which, you can't see the other person's hand. But I have actually put up some Age of Sigmar Champions content by just streaming from the iPad itself.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Yeah,
Mm.
I know that certainly for me, nobody at my local store plays Champions, I think. But obviously the app, you get games anytime, day or night.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good game. I really like it. But
Yeah.
I haven't covered it because it's like a whole nother thing. I'm still
Right.
focusing on the kill team, etc.
Well, I hear you. Yeah, I got into it at Nova. They play Fusion Crowd. They've been setting up these big booths at these cons where they hire in a whole team of people to teach people all weekend long, and they'll have like, I don't know, 12 tables with multiple mats laid out and pre selected decks for people to train with. And I got hooked there. Those guys got me stuck on the game. Played with my friends there at Nova, and then we ended up going to Adepticon. I actually played in the Age of Sigmar Champions. Sorry, man, if there's a lot of backdrop here.
It's fine.
Okay, yeah, I ended up playing at Adepticon, Age of Sigmar Champions. What was hilarious, Andy, is that I thought that it was a pre-constructed deck, and I busted my butt to get my deck together that was in a virtual environment. Bought 2 boxes of cards to get just a couple of cards that I needed, and I got there, and it was actually a draft format.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Well, that's the way it goes.
So that was funny. But yeah, if it wasn't for the app, then I would never have played that game. I didn't want to get into a trading card game. I don't like the random booster situation or anything like that. But the card, by having the app and being able to see all of the cards that are available to somebody and being able to like strategize all the different options you have at your disposal without necessarily buying into the game, you can grind your way to owning the cards virtually. That's what kept me into the game and being able to play all the time with people across the world. I don't know if you saw this, but they just announced, I think it's $100,000 prize pool. They're creating a global championship, and there's I think at Gen Con they're going to be giving $5,000 to the winner.
That's really cool. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. Maybe I should start playing again. But I don't know if I will. Don't know if I will. I think I used it on my phone as just kind of a time killer because the games are so quick. You know,
Yep.
instead of picking up whatever tippy tappy game, you could pick up Champions, play what 5 minutes tops,
Sure.
and they just
Yeah.
blast through it.
Yeah, it's amazing how well they integrated that app. Even they just came out with the new release, the 3rd edition
Yeah.
called Savagery, and I was just amazed just playing it recently. The way that they were able to integrate all those mechanics, every single card they had to do some sort of programming for. I'm sure, pretty impressive stuff.
Definitely, I completely agree. But let's talk about some kill team because that's why we're
Yes.
actually here, and we've talked
Yes.
about everything else for the past 8 minutes. So, kill team, you said that you've been to a few cons, you host tournaments.
Mhm.
What do you really want to talk about today? Because little
Sure.
peek behind the curtain for everybody watching this, I don't plan any of this.
Sure.
We're making it up on the fly.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I typically operate that way. Got some general thoughts. To start off, Andy, I'd like to talk about just Kill Team as one of my favorite things to say locally here is the greatest game on earth.
That's a bold statement, but keep going. Prove it. Go.
I want people to have that sort of attachment in their mind, at least locally here. There's a lot of games. People say that people either play or don't play because either one, they don't have the time for it, or because they don't have people to play with. So I've been just waving the flag high that I'm going to be rocking Kill Team until the day I die, kind of thing, so that I can keep people interested in moving on it. We've been doing tournaments once a month. And I love Commander. I love Arena. I can't wait for Elites. I'd like the Kill Team Original. And it's the thing about it that I find funny is that I talk to a lot of people about Kill Team, and oftentimes you're starting with the miniature crowd, whether it's 40K, Bolt Action, Age of Sigmar, whatever, any of those tabletop miniature war games. And for 40K players, they often say, oh, like I like the fact that it's faster, it's cheaper, doesn't take up as much space. And yes, these are all benefits, but that doesn't integrate into why it's the greatest game on earth, even though it's part of it. It's because the game is so tactically rich. And what I think the essence of a great game is when the game comes down to those final dice rolls, when every turn you're at the seat, the edge of your seat, not knowing what's going to happen next. And I've seen so many games flip its head on that last turn, on that last die roll. And, when they fail their broken test and their models shake off the objectives. Those very last moments are so often that it's such a rich experience for me. And I find that to be what the essence of a great game is close games. I really want to believe that Kill Team is a balanced game, even though I know that there's some imperfections. But I love when different factions win events. I love when people make things that aren't expected come out and be on top. Like we know Necron Chuck. I know you've been interviewing him, and he's done amazing with them. Gellerpox getting a high ranking at LVO, which is what I brought to Adepticon actually.
How did that go?
It went about as I expected. I won two and lost one in each time. The competition was heavy at Adepticon. With Necron Chuck, his buddy Alex, and
Eric.
Eric. That's what I meant. Eric, and then Elliot, of course, was there. The guy that hosted LVO got first at Nova. I got second right behind Elliot at Nova. That was the first major.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, so you might not know yet, but he came over to England to do the Warhammer World Tournament that happened just on Sunday.
Wow.
And he won that as well.
Oh my god.
With Servants of the Abyss, if you haven't checked. So he knows what he's doing, I guess.
Yes. He's a very effective player and definitely a very tactical mind.
Yeah.
We actually faced off at Adepticon. We didn't actually get to fight at Nova, and it was funny because the whole weekend at Nova, I was like, we were kind of like looking at each other out of the corner of the eye because we were seeing each other both kick a lot of ass. And I was like, it wasn't until after the tournament was over, I got second, he got first. So like we introduced each other, made quick friends, set up an interview online, and we never got to face each other there. He got first, I got second, and it was so cool to fight at Adepticon. It was we were in the same pod. It was like the third pod that we were in, third kill team event. And we sat down. I was giving Elliot so much crap, man. I was like, I'm mustering.
Nice.
I was telling him everything that, because a Gellerpox kill team, it's like 23 models that you have to choose from, even though your command roster is only 20. And I usually only bring like 6 guys, 8 guys, but I was telling them all 20 of what every one of them did. I was like,
just like bamboozle him with information. Yeah. So he doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah.
It was hilarious. But his army was wrecking. The Geller or the Poxwalker spam was being extremely effective at grabbing those objectives. He had obviously really thought out ahead of time what secondaries were going to be best to his faction, and I think that I had done the same with the Geller Pox. I think that's a primary focus for someone that's trying to do well at an event, is really studying the mission packet and kind of preconceiving what kind of secondaries and what kind of command roster you're going to bring to the table based on the missions and what faction you're facing, right?
Well, talking about that, obviously you host monthly tournaments. How are you hosting? Are you just taking them straight out of the book? Are you copying Adepticon?
We've done Nova missions up all through the first 4. We just recently had our first arena tournament, so we used the arena missions.
Who won? What faction won?
We've had lots of different factions win, actually, which I'm thankful for. But for Arena, Adeptus Astartes won, actually.
Oh, interesting. At Warhammer World, my channel already knows this, so I won't go on about it, but there were no Adeptus Astartes. Nobody brought them. And so that people have kind of been wondering, are they not good? But obviously you've just proven that they're there.
Well, here's an interesting talking point, is that something that what we've been doing that is not going on at most major events is we were allowing the expansion cards.
Okay.
And I think that some of the factions really need it. I think orcs do supremely better with it. Without it, they're just a really tough thing to play. Adeptus Astartes, the 2 main expansion tactics, they have Angel of Death, where you can add an extra attack to one of your models, and that goes great on the guy with a power fist who only has 2 attacks and can't be a combat or zealot. And then the best one that wins games, that won probably the tournament, I'd say the tactic that did it, is the one where Death Denied, for 2 command points, you take a flesh wound instead of being taken out of action.
Yeah, it's Warhammer World, obviously, because it's Games Workshop, allows everything you can buy, you can play. Yes, so faction expansions, you can use the individual cards. You could play Kroot. Obviously, you could play Servants of the Abyss, etc., etc.
Right.
Which I think that's the way to do it. Certainly, if I went to Adepticon or whatever and they said, "Oh, you've got orcs," no, you can't use all of your good tactics. But I'm like, I paid for them.
Right.
You know?
And it feels like, from when I like to think of the game designer's perspective, often of like how does a faction work? I like to often try to get into the head of the designer to think there's probably a right and a wrong way that they kind of built this. They probably put some traps of things that look good that aren't as good as something else. I like to think that they're good, that in depth with their rule process. And I think those expansion cards were a necessary addition to several factions to be able to perform in a competitive way. For instance, orcs, they have Daka 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 to shoot twice, and the best one is Pyromaniac. It takes their D3 burner shot and it turns it into a D6 shot. And
Yeah.
that's just so useful.
Turns it into a normal flamer, which
Yeah.
it should have already been.
Right.
Whatever.
Luckily, what I find is really interesting. I'm pretty passionate about Arena, and it's interesting because at first, just looking at it from the bird's eye view, I was not. I thought it was kind of silly. Maybe the value wasn't there in the box set. But I think it's an interesting approach by GW that instead of trying to FAQ and maybe even add additional tactics to different factions, they just change the game overall without actually necessarily changing the rules, just changing the maps and the secondaries and just the missions themselves and the ultra close confine rules. It really changes the dynamic of the game where factions that were struggling are a lot better. Burner Boys in Arena are serious business.
No, indeed. There's lots of units and just factions that in Arena are suddenly viable. Whereas in regular, yeah, I mean, I don't know about other people, but I began by playing orcs. I could not get them to work. However, when I've played them in Arena, they're really pretty strong. Like,
Yes. Same experience here. Gellerpox, for instance, when I first played the Gellerpox, I was struggling to win half the time. It was a 25% win rate until I kind of got in a groove and started figuring out how to play towards the secondaries. But in Arena, they're a powerhouse. They're just straight scary because those flies being able to go so fast and get to those doors and cut people off from opening them up, that's huge. Something I was talking about with our with Necron Chuck yesterday was what some of the rules in Arena and just in Kill Team in general that take people by surprise. One thing that I was informed of on our channel and just totally glossed over was how whenever if you open a door, there's two ways to open the door, right? When you start your move within front of the door, within an inch of the door, you can try to pop it. And when you end a normal move in range of the door. Well, the one detail in there is that if you make a normal move to open the door, but there's an enemy model on the other side of it, obviously they can contest the door opening when you're standing right in front of it, but you actually are not allowed to open the door when you end a normal move next to it and there's an enemy model on the other side. That whole turn is nullified.
yeah, so obviously, the way that rule is worded, there has been a little bit of contention. However, I agree with your interpretation that that is what it says, and saying anything else isn't really valid. However, just so you know, the Warhammer World TOs ruled on
Oh,
this weekend that you can open a door even if there is somebody within 1 inch. They gave the reasoning for that because it was a question that people asked, obviously they wouldn't have ruled it if nobody asked, that they were making rulings that lent towards speeding the game up just because, exactly as you say, you nullify someone's turn. And when it's only
yeah,
4 rounds, that is crippling.
totally. Well, that's really interesting to hear. I was curious if usually GW has been on the course of action that after Nova, after Adepticon, they drop an FAQ for 40K. I'm hoping and assuming they're going to do so for Kill Team as well, and that'd be great to see in print.
That's exactly how the timings worked out last time. I think we had Nova, then the next weekend there was a Kill Team tournament. Then I think during either the next week or the week after, there was an FAQ. I'm
Right.
hoping that means this week we're going to get the same, or so this week or next week we're going to get an FAQ,
Yeah,
which
me
will
too.
clear up a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
I'm excited for that. And of course, last year after Nova, that's when the Death Guard Flail of Corruption got reduced to 1 damage instead of 2.
And thank God.
I was abusing that hard at Nova. That was definitely the main factor of my success.
It was such a powerful weapon. But an interesting note on that is that obviously that was a very, very powerful weapon. I don't know if you care much about game design. But you
I
kind
mean,
of
I'll
implied
always,
that you did earlier. But like,
yeah,
I think it's quite interesting that they changed the stats of the weapon instead of increase the points. You know, that's obviously a game design decision that they said, well, we could keep the flail the same, but just increase
right.
the points by 4, whatever. So it would be a
Hmm.
ridiculous weapon, but you're
Hmm.
paying for it. Or yeah, it's just thoughts I have that one day I'm gonna
Oh,
collate into video form and talk about.
right.
But yeah, it's just. Do you have any thoughts on that as a game design
Well,
man?
yeah, well, mainly just that multi damage is so powerful in Kill Team that I think people overlook it. And usually, when I'm trying to dissect a new faction, I'm looking at the very first thing I look at is where is all the multi damage weapons.
Yeah,
For instance, like Necrons, they don't have any. For Thousand Suns, as much AP as they have and great saves and psychic, they only have one multi damage weapon in the whole Kill Team, and that's that Force Staff
Force
at
Stave.
the
Yeah,
right. I didn't realize until I was called out on the channel. I played many games with many people, and no one had taken this into account. But how you re-roll all the dice on the injury roll. If you have a multi-damage weapon, does 2 damage, and you don't get a out of action. If you do a tactical re-roll, that's all the dice because it's a single die roll. And that just makes multi-damage weapons even that much more potent. And I think that is when you have 3d3 attacks, my God, to have them be 2 damage a piece, that just can kill way too hard, I think.
yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
You know, an interesting dynamic that got called out that I played incorrectly at Nova, and no one knew this until it was called out on the channel after I posted the videos of it. Was unlike shooting. In shooting, of course, you like say you have a D6 shot, you roll your D6, and then you're able to multi-target units within 2 inches of each other. But in combat, if you have 3d3 attacks, unlike with shooting where you roll the result of the attack and then allocate it to your models, you have to allocate each of the attacks individually and then roll the 3d3. Or so like if there's 5 models, I can't split more than 3 ways. I have to do 1 3 3 attack here, 1d3 attack here, 1d3 attack here, then
Yes,
roll the
yeah,
result of the d3s.
yes, indeed.
So that was surprising and something easily overlooked. Just similarly to how in combat, it's how there's -1 to hit when there's an obstruction. Well, in shooting or in psychic, if you're within 1 inch of the obstruction, when on the injury table, that would be modified to be a 5 to take them out of action instead of a 4. In close combat, a piece of obstruction still does -1 to hit, but it actually in close combat doesn't affect the injury roll. It's very, very strange. Very tiny little details that are easy to miss.
Very true, and also something that people might not know, a similar one is that a psychic bolt is also, or a cybolt is also affected by cover, and just because, yeah,
Yep. Yep.
so
I,
they
I
will
think
also
that
get that -2 injury. Yeah,
100. Yeah. I think that's one of the most critical components to a player that gains more experience is constantly being thinking about if they're within 1 inch of the obstruction of the models they're going to go up against, whether you're using your own bodies for that or the terrain itself. It's so critical to modify that injury roll for your opponent.
but also another thing to note about being within 1 inch of any terrain is, of course, that some people have it in their heads, and I believe this is a 40k rule, that
Mhm.
in 40k, if you're within 1 inch of terrain, you don't count it as possibly obscuring you. But of course, in Kill Team, that's not the case, and you have to draw a true line of sight from your model.
Right, right, and hey, just the difference of line of sight and obstruction. That I've seen that. It's funny at these major events, there'll be packed full with people that are well experienced, and there'll also be a number of people that have barely played, and this is their only opportunity to. And I've often seen surprise attacks of things like we're discussing now. But like line of sight and obstruction, line of sight's from any point of the model, while obstruction is only the main body parts, and most people confuse those as hand in hand.
Yes, this is. I actually did a video based on that because exactly as you say. But then there's also the minor nuance of if you are drawing line of sight from a part of your model that would make you count as obscured, then even if your enemy is in the open and unobscured, he still counts as obscured because your model is drawing line of sight from, let's say, the tip of your gun.
Mm-hmm.
The enemy will count as obscured in that instance.
Oh, okay,
It is
okay.
subtle. It is subtle. I highly recommend that everybody goes and watches the video that I did on it.
There you go.
But yes, yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I often say, the devil is in the detail in Kill Team. There's a lot of there's a lot more depth than meets the eye when you first get into it. You run your first demo game, and you find yourself like, oh, that was easy enough. But as soon as the player starts opening up the all the details of the game, you quickly find that there's a much deeper mechanics than meets the eye.
Would you say that it is more detailed than 40k?
Well, to me, 40K is it's a bunch of math hammer, as they say. Like oftentimes, I feel like most of the detail of the gameplay is inside of the list building aspect of 40K, and most of the combos and intricacies and things you're doing to play against the meta, you do in the list building stage and studying your codex. While in Kill Team, that part is reduced dramatically, and instead it's on the battlefield that I feel like most of these tactics come into play. And I think that every moment of the game, it's particularly with the fact of the you go, I go mechanics and the override abilities. I love the universal tactics, decisive move, decisive strike, decisive shot. Those are so critical to playing, overcoming your opponent in the right moments and thinking about how to spend your command points. That I feel like I'm often making tougher decisions in a Kill Team match every moment of the game than I am in 40K. It's often just, let me throw my math versus your math is typically how it tends to play out. There's so many times when it's like you start theory crafting between you and your friend about who's going to beat who in what situation, and it often comes down to, well, I guess from here it's just who goes first and how the dice rolls, you know.
No, I think you have a bit of truth there. Certainly in 40k, you are typically rolling enough dice that you can hit, statistical averages a little bit better than if you only had a few models. For example, in Kill Team, the statistical average of my model doesn't really matter because there's such a high variance because perhaps I only have 5 models. So the statistical average, I could easily roll 5 ones in a row. Who
Mm-hmm.
cares? Whereas, of course, in 40k, you're rolling enough that you will probably hit those. And so, actually, I think the biggest factor, and I don't know if you know Michael, who won with Azarani at LVO. Oh, came second. He didn't win, but uh, he kind of put this forward, and I've been thinking about it a lot since then. That the
Uh-huh.
best way to improve as a kill team player isn't to list build and think about every single possible variation and who should be in and do what, etc.
Right.
And even ignore the command roster. Just play a game and make sure that every single move you make is purposeful. And I think that the entire game is in those core tactics that you said: decisive move, decisive strike, decisive shot,
Right.
and movement. And I
Yeah.
think whoever has those down will probably win over almost any other faction, excluding extreme dice rolls, obviously.
Yeah. I think I have to agree with that for sure. I think decisive move is my absolute favorite tactic, and it's usually before in every turn. I've always say, wait, let me think about this, because I mean that decisive move wins games. And I was talking to Necron Chuck yesterday too, and he kind of went along those same lines of, well, I totally agree with every movement being purposeful. You'll usually see that. A less experienced player will try to stand back and shoot, where usually a more veteran player will be much more aggressive and charge into the situation. Being that's a 4-turn game, the more you've experienced that, how quickly those 4 turns go by, and the more recognized you are to how important it is to score early or not let them overcome you for more than 2 turns.
No, I agree. There are some, I guess, Tau Gunline, right?
Yeah.
Fire Warriors, in theory, have a great weapon.
Mm-hmm.
The pulse rifle, I think.
It's Pathfinders with the railgun, or
Oh,
but yeah,
I
but
was more thinking just, if you look at,
yeah, sure, strength
yeah, yeah,
5, yeah,
yeah, it's a good gun.
yeah,
But if you just take, 10 Fire Warriors and think, you know what, I'm just going to shoot them off the board, well, you probably won't. Or you might, but you're going to lose on VP.
yeah.
And I think that's another thing that people, after they've played a few games, if you're a new person looking through the book, you might look at a few of these choices like the Fire Warriors and think, oh, well, that's a really good gun. They're so cheap. and you'd want to take them. But as you say, once you played a few games, you kind of just want to. Well, suddenly you realise that drone spam is significantly better. But ignore that.
Right.
It's about
Yeah.
movement. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, drones are so effective at locking up an opponent, like you going against Harlequins or that crazy flail from the Death Guards, any sort of extremely scary close combat-y situation. To be able to decisive move and lock them up with a drone or some sort of sacrificial lamb while you go score objectives is a critical play style when you're a gun line versus a very fast-moving combat army. Another thing too that that is so critical is breaking. And that's the power of the horde of Tyranids. I was surprised that I thought Tyranids did the best at the horde style, as we saw at LVO. The fact that they have synapse is so powerful. I've tried the Poxwalker spam before. I actually have a few battle reports where I'd done something similar to what Elliot had done, and I found that their leadership is still so poor. You can end up with a lot of shaken Poxwalkers. You can end up breaking still, and I think the idea of being conscious of that. I think Elliot mentioned that one of your interviews with him about, if say you have a 7-man kill team versus an 8-man kill team, or getting to that 10 versus that 9, because when you're at a 7-man team, it only takes 4 to be more than half to be in jeopardy, or if you're at 8, it takes 5. And sometimes just squeezing in that extra model just to make that additional number to before you break is a critical component to a stronger list.
Yeah, I think regarding the horde thing, again, one of the big shocks that everybody had of Michael's playing the Azurani against the Tyranids is that obviously the strength of that Tyranid list is in the warrior stopping that mechanic completely. But
Right.
I assume you know that Michael managed to kill the warrior for turn one. It's like
Right.
surely then he would win, but no, it's not as simple as it seems. Especially when you then think he still has 19 Hormigans, so he has
Yes.
to kill 10 models before they actually care.
Right. And I almost, I had a sinking feeling that this is a problem in Kill Team, is that if hordes are going to win as so readily as they did at with the Poxwalkers at Adepticon, or LVO with the Tyranids, does that mean that is the strongest form of the meta? And I'm so thankful for Arena, because I feel like that really reduces that all of a sudden. When you're getting trapped in those hallways and somebody's sticking you at a door and you can't, get your horde through the hallway, all of a sudden it's a whole different game.
No, indeed, that was one of our big takeaways from the Warhammer world because I guess it was the biggest. It was only 28 players, but the biggest arena tournament that I'm aware of so far, because
Okay.
obviously Adepticon wasn't arena.
Okay.
And everybody came away saying the same thing, that the person that moved first, including using decisive move,
Hmm.
and managed to get one of their models to block the enemy's door, and not just block as in possibly be able to roll a 5 up, but block as in actually, for them to get
Block with their
past you.
body.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
They
Right.
have
Right.
to charge you and basically take up a turn. Um,
Hmm.
they won the game. Typically.
Sure.
Typically.
Yeah, and that's where, and the person that hasn't played Arena enough will get caught in that. Usually, when you're teaching someone Arena for the first time, or they're in their first couple games, that's the biggest learning curve, is how to think ahead of your movement so that you're going to be able to get yourself to the correct positions without. Oftentimes, people will block their own selves in by accident. Did you get any word on? That was another one of those rules it's a devil in the detail of only infantry models can open and close doors, but any type of model can actually block a door on a 5 up.
Yeah, nobody asked the question. I think
Mm.
that was just taken as that's how it's played. Or at
Yeah,
least if anyone did ask the question, it never circulated widely. So I'm assuming that is just, yeah.
it was pretty. It's pretty clear just, by the
Yeah.
omission of information, But yeah, still a curious thing.
We know GW, and the FAQ might say, actually, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, right.
yeah. Anything could
Yeah,
happen next week.
yeah. I guess we'll have to see. But yeah, I gotta say, Arena's really healthy for the game. I'm really curious and excited about Elites. Apparently, at Nova Open, they're going to be running all Arena, and there's a 64-man event there. So I'm curious if there will be 32 Arena setups there.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Do you, as somebody that runs your own tournaments, are you sticking to arena, or you alternate, or you mix the two in a single tournament, or?
Yeah, I let the community set. We always take a poll. We're a small group that's been growing. Our biggest event has only been about 10 people,
Sure.
and so out of those folks, I've asked where is the what do we want to do next, and we've gone from kill team to commander, back to kill team, arena, and now we're going to do arena commander this very weekend upcoming here. So we're going to play commander inside of arena as an event.
I
What I
think
really
that will be interesting. You'll have to.
Yes.
Are you gonna record some of those games?
Yeah, all of our tournaments are
Awesome.
streamed and
Awesome.
put on YouTube. We stream on Twitch, and then we put the back end on YouTube. I take all three matches and put them into one single video. It's about 3 hours, and people can watch all three games in a row. So you can actually watch every Kill Team event that we've thrown here. You can watch the streams on our channel there.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, this Saturday from about noon Eastern Standard Time to about 5, 6 in the afternoon, we'll be streaming 3 games in a row, right there on Twitch, Warp Church Gaming.
Oh gosh, I should probably get this out before then, shouldn't I? Okay, I'll work on it. But yeah.
Oh, no stress, no stress. I get it, man. The editing, I have so much editing to do. Like I said, I have the game filmed where I played against Elliot. I also have a game filmed where I played against Necron Chuck at Adepticon. So I filmed all 6. I have 9 games filmed from Adepticon that I need to produce. It's a pretty lengthy process, though. Did you ever get a chance to see the Nova Open videos I had made?
I can't remember who they would have been against. I've obviously watched some of your
Yeah.
bat reps, and then you do, like, are they podcasts?
We
Well, it's
do.
just kind of you guys sitting around talking,
Yeah, live talk
which
show. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, which I consider a podcast. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, the
but I'm not sure which ones I've seen.
it's a unique format. It definitely, maybe I'll throw you the link that you could post. It's our most popular content, and it was from Nova Open. It was the very first Kill Team of major event that had existed at that time period, so it was very fresh. And it's me just with a GoPro between my legs going down on the board. And in order to make that content actually be digestible and enjoyable, I have to really dissect the game and narrate it. So instead of listening to terrible camera audio or miking up my opponent at a live tournament at a major event, I watch the entire video. I transcribe everything that happened to paper, and then I overdub it with my mic and narrate exactly what happens. And I actually put indicators like a sports broadcast on the screen to show who I'm talking about. I put fire and gun effects on screen to show who's being shot and who's shooting. So it takes me about 16 hours for 3 different Kill Team events or 3 different matches to put it into one video. I time lapse the whole thing to my spoken narration and end up giving you 3 bat reps at 15 minutes, with you getting just constant information of what was on my mind and how the game went. So people really enjoyed that type of content. I plan to do the same thing for Adepticon. You should check it out. I'll show you a link.
No, definitely. I mean, I've been playing around with battle reporting formats, because obviously I think it's something that people want to see,
Yeah.
especially because, as you said, it's kind of not, compared to 40k or Age of Sigmar, aren't as many kill team bat reps up that you can watch. And I think that it's definitely a good thing. However, I don't have that level of dedication. I want something a little bit easier. So
Yeah.
I'm still playing with the format. I think I do think narration is key though. Unless you have really clean audio, like from
Yeah.
the game, people don't really want to hear a 5 minute rule discussion and then somebody comes in to take your food order and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's challenging. It's challenging. You got to be on the ball. That's one of the things about filming Kill Team over, say, 40K is it is a little bit less stress. Being the board is a lot more reduced. It's easier to get a good angle, and the games go faster. So I often am doing live content on our channel because if I'm a one-man band and editing all of this material and producing it at the same time, as well as hosting events and everything, is extremely laborious and time-consuming. So oftentimes I've been working for a long time now on how to get a entertaining watch on a live battle. and definitely much easier with Kill Team than it is 40K.
Well, so do you know Alex, Kill Team Academy?
I can't say that I do.
Oh, so he's the guy that he was one of the TOs alongside Elliot
Mm,
at LVO.
okay.
And I think he's hosting the BAO, Bay Area Open, this
Yep.
Kill Team event this next month.
Okay, cool.
I think me and him are going to attempt shoutcasting a match from there. So I think one of the big keys to making something presentable live is having more than one person.
Yeah.
I've tried doing it as just me. There's a lot of dead silence,
Yeah.
which is fine because things are happening on the board. It would be weird for me to talk. But yeah, I think two-person, just like they do in sports, esports,
Yeah.
you need that back and forth.
Man, like when you see GW doing Warhammer TV on Twitch at these major events, they have, their cameras are like $10,000 a piece. They have 3 different ones that are all they're remote controllable and zoom in, and they got somebody dedicated to the camera. They got somebody dedicated just to comments on Twitch. They have 2 people looking at an extremely expensive touchpad where they can narrate and point to things directly on the board. It's like a 6-person team when they do Warhammer TV stuff. So trying to get as close to that as I can as a one-man band.
No, you're right. I think a lot of people don't realize just how much effort goes into Games Workshop's own content.
Yep,
They really go for it.
they
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
They
and
do.
they have good results,
Oh,
obviously.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean those guys sitting there, they had Frankie from Frontline Gaming has been at the last few. He's been a narrator or a spokesperson for the last few events that I've seen him at. And I mean, those guys are sitting there for all day long, the entire tournament. They're sitting there narrating. There's some serious work that goes in and some hours that are get put down. So got to give respect to that stuff. It's whenever I think that kind of perspective is I enjoy people to have because it definitely makes it's a little bit more forgiving when us up and comers are getting trying to get off the ground there.
No, sure, definitely.
Mhm.
Um, right, so we're just so you know about 40 minutes in.
Sure,
Right, so we've got about 20 minutes left ish.
sure,
Um, I have to ask
yeah,
because this is something that people are going to want to know.
sure.
What was the Adeptus Astartes list that won your tournament? I've
Ah,
got to know.
sure. So it was he. The only thing he would play with is whether there was a power fist or not going on. Let me pull that up real quick. It was. Yeah, I actually he was. It was what was funny is that it was only his like 4th game of Kill Team when he started the event. I actually did some training with him a couple days prior and helped build his list. So I'm going to take a little bit of credit.
Oh, okay. Trained by the master. Okay, well that's not, okay.
But what we came up with is we had a scout sergeant as the leader with a sniper rifle and camel cloak, and then it was only a 5-man team. The 3 specialists was going to be was a demo specialist on an intercessor gunner with an auto bolt rifle and auxiliary grenade launcher. There was a second intercessor gunner that was the comm specialist, also carrying the Auspex auto bolt rifle and auxiliary grenade launcher. The combat specialist was a reaver sergeant with a combat knife, grapple launcher, grav shoot, heavy bolt pistol. And everybody takes this in Adeptus Astartes list: a scout gunner with a missile launcher and camel cloak. He's the non-specialist. That's usually the combo where you're giving that missile launcher an Auspex and your comm specialist to get him up to a 2 up to hit. It's a strength 8d6. I think it's strength 8d6 damage weapon. So a heavy hitting weapon, it's great to make it a 2 up to hit. And then finally, to kind of support your combat specialist, you take a tactical sergeant with a power fist and plasma pistol.
To clarify, this wasn't arena.
This was arena. No, this was arena.
Okay, that is a weird list for arena. I'm just gonna say
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Um, why did you go with a sniper rifle on the leader?
Assume just out of points. And now, granted, you
Oh,
got
okay.
to. Yeah, I think. Well, I guess the other options was a shotgun or something. It was going to be that he was long range. Honestly, to be honest,
Sure.
Andy, I'm more of a chaos player. I like Xenos, and Adeptus Astartes is fresh to me and to my buddy here. And this is just what we came up with based on what seemed the best without actually trying.
No, fair. Of course, of course. And what about you?
As
I
far as
Well, what is your favorite faction?
oh,
Yeah, a bit more
Mm,
generic question there.
right. Well, I have a beautifully painted Gellerpox army, and that's why I love them the most. And I just love chaos. I love demons, and they're the closest thing to demons we have. So, I mean, playstyle wise, as far as being like a win all the time kind of thing, it definitely is a challenge to play. But I love my models most with the Gellerpox. Otherwise, though, Death Guard I enjoyed a lot because they were extremely survivable and forgiving if you made mistakes. They're just an all around great team. I've done well with them. But I'd say besides playing Death Guard or Gellerpox, I like Thousand Suns a lot. Just because again, I love chaos, I love the models. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think everyone I talk to kind of agrees that Thousand Suns should, at least in arena, be top tier. And we just haven't. There were no Thousand Suns at Warhammer World, for example, and
Oh,
we're
none out
just not.
of 28 people. Nobody
None
played
of it.
Thousand Suns.
Yep, none.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we don't know why. We can hypothesize, but we really don't know. But they should be top tier. I mean, I think one of the issues with Thousand Suns in regular kill team is that yes, Zangors are, 5-up save, T4. Obviously, that's okay, but a 5-up save is still a 5-up save. They
Right.
can just go down, you know,
Yeah.
and they're quite easy to shoot before they get into combat in that regard. But in
Mhm.
arena, you don't have that problem. Your Zangors will get into combat.
Right. Right. I mean, granted, there's always that point blank Overwatch and a lucky shot, but still, I mean, I think also Grey Knight's got way. I mean, just like Psychic is so powerful in Kill Team. When you got a Harlequin that charges you in the face and you just pop it off the board with a Cybolt.
Very useful, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I found Grey Knights to get much more significant as an elite team inside of Arena, being that you can pick and choose whichever one of your 5, 6 models that you want to pop off a Cybolt with. So I enjoy, as far as the good guys, the Grey Knights would probably be another one I really enjoy, mainly because all of their weapons of close combat are multi-damage, typically D3 damage. The Psyche,
Yes.
they're good in all the phases. Usually, if somebody's trying to get into Kill Team, I suggest Grey Knights because it's the most affordable. You just buy one box and you have all the weapon options, easy to paint, and they're great in all the phases and very forgiving with their power armor.
It's honestly like you've watched my video titled "This is the best kill team," which is me recommending Grey Knights for all those reasons. Yes.
Right.
Um, yeah, no, I completely agree. I actually took Grey Knights to Warhammer World, and I came 11th,
Okay.
which
Nice
isn't
job.
terrible. But more importantly, I came above any other Grey Knight player, and that was what I
Hey,
was really aiming for. I think
that's
that's how you have
yeah,
to play. I mean, assuming you're not going there ultra competitively, I want to win,
yeah,
then I think going there saying I want to be the best of my faction is
yeah.
probably the healthiest way to view tournaments.
I say that's good for anybody. Yeah, whether it's a major event, whether it's for a season, it's always a good concept. I think that I lost my train of thought there. Yep, lost it.
Fair enough. In that
Yeah.
case, we've got about 10 minutes left. Was
Mhm.
there any very controversial statements you wanted to make that I can make a clickbait title out of, possibly? That would really help me, is all I'm saying.
Right. I made a video of rules that people argue about. That was my clickbait one.
It's a good one. No, it's a good one. Did you put a number in there? Like 10 rules. People love numbers in titles. I don't know
Ah,
why,
I did
but they
not.
do.
I did not. That is a
Oh,
good point, though.
yes. Yeah.
Checking some notes. Here's one that people love to argue about: is the thing with when you're taken out of action with your flesh wounds. So is it 3 flesh wounds or is it 4? I feel like
It's three.
I know the answer. You think
It's
it's
three.
3, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
of course.
I,
No,
oh,
we had that clarified. That's in the designer's
FAQ.
commentary. Yeah.
I think that they're clarifying that it's 4. Oh, now we
Let me
got now.
think. Hold
Yeah,
on. Hold on. Let me think.
I'm pulling it up.
Okay, so you could take 3, then you die, or you could take 2, then you die. I need a dice and I need a board. I've got to work this out.
Right.
Uh, I need the rules in front of me mainly, and I don't have a rule book.
Uh, so I
Well, this
so
is
I got I
embarrassing.
got I got all these things. I'm pulling up the Kill Team designer note, but what it says is that if all of your boxes are checked, then you take it out of, then it's taken out of action. You can't take
Yes,
another
correct.
flesh wound.
Okay, so
And,
3.
and all of your boxes aren't checked until all 3 boxes are checked, and you take a
Yes.
4th.
Yes, okay. So my understanding of that is that there isn't an actual check your box phase. As soon as your 3 boxes are checked, your model is dead. Because there isn't, for example, in Shadespire, as you said, you should play Shadespire. There is
Right,
a specific, at the end of the activation phase, whatever it is, I haven't played for a long time. You then
right.
check to see the status of the board, and if certain statuses are filled, then something occurs.
Right.
Whereas in Kill Team, there isn't, as far as the designers tell us, a specific phase where we then check the board for statuses.
Well, it's like you when you take a flesh wound, you mark a box, and it says if you
Yes.
cannot mark a box, then you're taken out of action. You can only not mark a box once all 3 are filled. And this is funny. This is something that there's people go both ways. It's hotly contested. I really hope it's in the FAQ, but in the FAQ,
All
which
right.
I'm trying to find now,
Yeah.
they indicate that the fourth thing is the deal here.
Is that
Let's see.
true? I have not been playing it that way. I'll tell you that much.
Right, right. So here,
Uh,
there's your clickbait there.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll take it. Why not?
I'm, I'm
Why not?
digging. I'm digging.
Right. So am I. So this is top quality podcast content here. 2 people googling things. Uh,
The model. I'm making your editing harder right now.
oh, this isn't getting edited.
Oh, oh,
This
oh,
is
wonderful.
this is
Oh, wonderful.
clean. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, yes, there's a portion in the FAQ that I'm digging around for now, that it talks about, like, the Thousand Suns. They have it where you spend a command point, and instead of going out of action, you take another flesh wound. And the
Yes.
question in the designer note is that if I have 3 flesh wounds, can I use this tactic to take on a 4th? And DW
Right.
says no. They say no, but they obviously don't say anything to the fact that if you already had 3, you would be dead anyways.
Yeah, I see it here. If you use the immovable automaton, rune of Iliad, or the just a flesh wound tactic on a model that is taken out of action that already has 3 flesh wounds, what happens? The model was still taken out of action as a model with 3 flesh wounds that gains another flesh wound is taken out of action. That does sound like you need 4 flesh wounds.
That's what I'm saying, man. And the way that it reads in the core rule book is that when you cannot mark the box, and again, you can only not mark the box once there's 3 of them filled up.
I mean, I'm just going to say this goes against everything that I remember,
Oh,
but it,
hey,
it seems correct from
man,
that one rule.
there has been so many times I have played well into a couple hundred games of Kill Team now, and I remember when I was over 100 in my mind. So I kept track to about 50 or 60. That somebody called me out on this, or not this one, but I don't know, like re-rolling the injuries, re-rolling multiple dice on the injury table. I didn't know that for so many games and so many people I played, and it's crazy how we can overlook things. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
stay. I'm standing by that. I'd love to see what the comments say
No, I'm
below.
flummoxed. I'm flummoxed,
Yeah.
mate. I don't know what's going on. I, yeah, I am going to go and find my rulebook and scour the the designer's commentary because I thought it was as soon as you check the 3rd box, you are then out of action. But
No.
as exactly as you say, the way that was worded, it heavily implies that a model can take 3 and then dies on the 4th,
Yeah,
which is
it's when you have no boxes left to check. Here's one that really threw me for a loop. I got one more that
okay.
Necron Chuck wasn't. He didn't believe me at first either, and he was like, "No, no, no." I was taken aback by this. Okay,
Okay.
when the same kind of response you had. It's about charging, and I think the most devil in the detail intricacies live inside of the combat phase and inside of the charging inside of Kill Team. But the thing that I was like, no way, and just stared at the rule book and argued it right out the gates was that whenever unlike 40K, if you were to say multi-charge, let's say 3 models, and you are able to make it within 1 inch of one of the 3 models, but the other 2 are still accessible by piling in. typically, if you declared them as part of your charge, that even with a pile in into those models, you would then get to fight them in the fight phase. But what it says in the charge move section of on page 24 is that
It's a
the
failed
only model,
charge. Yeah.
yeah, the only models that are considered to have been charged are the ones that you engage within 1 inch of at the end of your charge move. And
Yes.
thus, if you pile into other models that even if you declared a charge against them, they no longer are counted as declared charges, and you will not get to fight against them.
I think that's a good nuance, a good subtlety. If somebody had told me that on the board, I'd have said, yeah, okay, that sounds right. But off the top of my head, I wouldn't have thought of it. But yes, I can, because you're right. If you, well, yeah,
I got
because
the,
you make the
yeah,
charge and then
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I got the sentence right here actually, and it's the reason that it gets glossed over. It's typically the folks that gloss over it are the 40k players because our instincts are so trained that in 40k it's certainly not that way. You can pile in all day, but it says to make a successful charge roll, the model must finish its move within 1 inch of at least one of the target models. Cool. But a model that does so is said to have charged, and the enemy models that are within 1 inch of it at the end of its move are said to have been charged. So only the models that it ended within 1 inch of are the ones that are said to have been charged.
And of course, you can only make eligible when it comes to the picking a target phase of the fight phase. You can only actually select a model that has
That you,
been charged or
yeah,
that charged you.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's huge.
No, that's a
That
good
means
one.
Yeah, and the same way with a difference from 40k. I often am comparing the things that often get overlooked are things that operate differently in 40k, and that's the same thing with whenever you're able to if you were to charge with two models and the first model kills the target and the second model does not have a target to fight against, you can still activate it because it charged, but you can only pile in towards the model that's the nearest enemy, but you cannot consolidate. In 40k, if you activate a model that's charge target is dead, you can pile in and then consolidate. But the order of operations and kill team is you're only able to consolidate if you went through the fight itself. If you actually fought something.
You can pile in still though, I believe.
Yes,
Yes, you can
you can
make the three
pile in.
inch pile in, but
Right,
then you cannot legally select a target, and so the fight series stops there, and you
right.
cannot do anything else.
Yep. So that's an important a little nuance there that can come up. I think another one that's important that I'm just starting to use more and as I become more experienced is your combat specialist and leader tactics, where you're able to like select another model to fight. It's only one, for instance, your combat specialist. If you charge with two models, one of them being your combat, one of them being a non-specialist, and you choose to fight with your non-specialist first for one command point, you're going to be able to have your combat specialist immediately fight next. Or let's say that your combat specialists remain locked in combat and you charge with another non-specialist. You know that they won the initiative. They're gonna get to go first against your combat specialist. But instead of spending 2 command points for a decisive strike, you can instead fight with the non-specialist that charge and then spend 1 command point for the combat specialist tactic and fight with him next instead. Which that's pretty potent.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, I rarely use those tactics.
Me too. Me too.
Just because my CP is so limited. My
Mm-hmm.
CP is going to a reroll typically, especially if I'm Grey Knights, because
Yep.
obviously you can reliably get an injury roll a turn because of Cybolt.
Yep.
My CP are going on that injury roll typically, or they're
Mm-hmm.
going on decisive move, or in arena the veteran move. So CP are really tight. But yeah, you're right. In a tight game, that second attack before the enemy can retaliate can be a winner.
Yeah, and that one CP so that you can do your reroll and still get to do that kind of decisive strike. Here's one more for you, Andy. Is the with the arena? There's been some contesting of the concept of can you open a door with the veteran move, and a lot of people say yes by default.
Yep.
But to my understanding, the veteran you can only open doors in the movement phase, and the veteran move is not in the movement phase.
So my understanding of that is, well, first off, at Warhammer World, the TO ruled it that you can open with the veteran move. So that
Okay.
kind of neatly kills the argument. However, I agree that it's worded really poorly.
We need an FAQ on that too. Then I hope we get it.
Yes, no. I think we do. However, the TOs did rule as kind of the majority wisdom that I've heard rules, which is a veteran move will open it because it's a normal move. However, a Gene Stealer Cult
Oh,
Ambush
right,
will not
right.
open it because it is a move of 6 inches instead of a normal move.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's interesting. Nice clarification there. I'm glad to have heard that. Well,
Yes.
that's interesting. I Warhammer World did quite a bit of clarifications there that I honestly I had no other clarification of.
Well, yes, I think that was very useful. However, I also really hope that we get an FAQ
Yes.
just to
Yeah.
codify it, because
Please. Yeah.
certainly from my last uh, escapades up to Warhammer World, um, I came away having asked a bunch of questions to the actual rules designers, not a TO, the guys that wrote the rules, and I kind of fed that back into my channel. And there are still people that, from those rulings, say, "Well, that's not how I read the rule," which is
Sure.
fine, which is fine.
Right. Right.
But it's like, considering it's a contentious rule and we have
Yeah.
no other way to rule it, I'm
Right.
gonna go with the guy that wrote the rules in the first place. But
Totally. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I would rather it work that way because otherwise it's useless. I mean, besides the veteran not having to suffer from nerve checks and things of that nature, that's always cool. But what to have a tactic that gives you that first turn movement, but you have doors in your way, so there's no way you can do anything about it. I'd rather you be able to open the door for sure.
I think it would be very, very interesting to play Arena without the doors.
Oh,
I'm just gonna say it.
hmm.
I don't think doors add. No, so sorry. They add a lot to the game, but they are
Yes,
mainly adding a lot to the game through poor rules writing and weird rules writing. And when you only have 4 turns, they
right.
really jam things up, which for an elite team doesn't matter because
Hmm.
having 5% of your kill team stop and open a door is irrelevant. Who cares? But for Grey Knights, for example, I have to stop 20% of my kill team to open a single door, and that can be huge. So I think
Yeah,
it's just another thing that kind of pushes people towards hordes as a better, you know, it enhances the meta instead of changes the meta because we already know that horde are quite powerful in regular kill team, and as the Warhammer World thing proved, because we had Servants of the Abyss, which I think had 9, 10, 11, 12 model kill team.
okay,
We then had Orcs, which I assume would have also been 12. And then I can't remember who was on. I know we had Harlequins, and that was a 7 model team. So that's an elite team, really. But let's ignore that.
sure.
I can't remember who else was there. But yeah, yeah.
I'm really excited about the precedence of them allowing the expansion cards. That was big news for me too. It validates a little bit my desire to run them at my own events. I wish and hope that they allow those at Nova. They didn't do it at Adepticon. They didn't do it at the original Nova. So still up in the air. And those rule packets were written by GW. So I'm surprised that they integrated at the Warhammer World. Hopefully that's for things to come as well.
Well, GW did it at their very first kill team tournament as well. Um,
Interesting. Interesting.
so it seems like whatever GW is doing is very much a, hey, did you buy it from us? You can use it.
Hmm.
Whereas obviously the tournaments are trying to pare things down a bit,
Sure.
which I don't fully agree with. I agree with the concept of it's going to unbalance some teams because obviously they have extra tactics, which are just inherently more options are better, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But until every faction gets those extra tactics, they're saying no tactics at all, which I see the logic,
Yeah.
but if I was Orcs or Adeptus Astartes and those were the first kill teams out, I I wanna play with my toys, damn it.
Yeah, and just the fact that there's certain factions not even showing up. I mean, but obviously that's not an indicator for Warhammer World, being that Adeptus Astartes had that ability. I feel like that Death Denied. I mean, that is just so potent. If you just save 2 CP every turn, you don't die. I
No,
mean,
that's
that's
that's really good. Yeah, that's really
really
good.
good. every other faction that has that mechanic, because orcs have it, Thousand Sons have it, but they have to roll a 4 up to achieve it.
Yes.
The adept starters just do it. So I mean, that is to me that's a little overpowered. That probably should be a 4 up roll as well, but I don't know. I'm about the expansions. I think that's an interesting topic that I'm curious to see how that develops as things go along. I'm wondering if elites drop, if that'll be a thing. Right now, Commander and the idea of elites, they don't seem like they're going to be in standard competitive play. I haven't seen a major event yet, or even local tournaments that are typically doing the outside the box, the Commander style. Does Commander get played a lot in your community? What do you think about Commander?
I think commanders aren't balanced. They're fun.
Yeah.
They're fun, but they're not balanced against even each other. And the missions therefore aren't balanced either. So there are, for example, missions in commanders where you have to kill the enemy commander. Great.
Right.
However, if you're an Imperial Guard player, you basically have a normal Imperial Guard as your commander, a commissar,
Right.
whatever. Like
Sure.
he's better than an Imperial Guard, but he's still T3. What 3 up save? Does it go up to?
But
You
he's so
know,
short, he can hide.
I suppose. However, as an Eldar, my Pistolier Autarch with wings that can therefore move 14-inch base plus T6 and shoot twice with a blast pistol, which of course is doing
Yeah.
D6 damage.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just going to move right next to you. You know?
Fair. Yeah, I mean, I can't say that anytime we play Commander, we never play with the Commander missions. We're still either doing a Nova packet, a Adepticon packet, or the Arena missions, which are they're much better. You got to have a secondary, primary kind of situation going on.
No,
But still,
yeah.
but yeah, I feel it. There, I mean, like the Blight Spawn for the Death Guard with his 3 damage flamer is just nuts, and I mean, things get a little wacky for sure. But I still feel like good players can overcome with their skill sets, even with teams that don't seem as good on paper up front.
No, I agree. Although I still say good luck getting out of range of my flying
Yeah,
Autarch.
fair.
But no, actually, a point you bring up there is that actually I do think that commanders as they come are not balanced. However, with the right secondaries and with the right missions, they could be balanced. And I
Yep.
think that's a really attractive formula for the community. Unfortunately, GW sucks at this, but
Mhm.
the community can just say goodbye, GW, we'll fix it for you, which we
Yeah.
have to do so often. And actually make our own rules. If we wanted to make Commanders tournament viable, I think that we could. And I think that people are inherently a lot less resistant to changing a mission and changing a secondary objective.
Sure.
For example, if you said, you know what, to balance commanders, we're going to increase the points of this guy by 20, and we're going to lower this guy's ballistic skill by 3. I was like, well, hold on.
Yeah.
Those are hard rules in the book. You can't do that, you
Right.
know?
Right.
But you
No, that.
saying, oh, well, all we have to do is sorry. But you saying all we have to do is, oh, well, here's a secondary objective that if you kill the commander by turn, whatever, you get 6 victory points. Well, suddenly that's huge, you know,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. And and to GW's credit, they did come up with primary secondaries for they came out with the arena set. A joke around the store is GW came up with a way to allow you to play competitively.
Yes, that was kind of them, wasn't it?
Right. But they are definitely more engaged with the value of those type of primary, secondary, and they've really done a much better job of integrating with the community when it comes to tournament players. So got to give them a little credit there. But hopefully I hope that they make Commander and that they make Elites not just a narrative expansion, but just as much a part of the game as playing traditionally. Because I love the more we can use and the more depth the game has, the more I enjoy it, at least.
No, I completely agree. I'm actually a bit saddened that Commanders never got, one of the big tournaments doing it.
Yeah.
I can see why, because of the imbalance. But yeah, I'm a little bit saddened by it. However, I'm not going to talk too long about it because I'm going to do a whole video on it. But
Right.
when it comes to elites, so far we do know a few things. from one of the main playtesters that has obviously playtested it, and also the guy that runs the is it LVO? No, it's Nova.
No, Mike Brandt.
Mike Grant, yeah. So
Yeah.
obviously he's let a few things slip
Mhm.
in which, to be clear, slipped in public. He's
Right.
allowed to say these things. It's not like I'm hacking his DMs or something. He
Yeah.
said that elites, unlike commanders, will be competitive, and then in a separate message, post, whatever, he has also said that he sees no reason why competitive play in Kill Team will go over 100 points. So, from that, we can infer that elites will be used in 100-point matches,
Huh.
which
Okay.
is interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I was expecting it going up to 150 or something.
Yeah, I'd assumed 150. Certainly because obviously one of the big announcements was that you'll be able to play Custodes. And so it's like, and they showed a team of 5, I think, and it's like,
Right.
well, hold on now.
Yeah.
Am I getting 5 of them in 100 points? Because that's
Right.
Grey Knights. That's Grey
Right.
Knight's thing. So I assume they're going to be 3 max, like because
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
but even so, interesting, interesting.
Yes. Very, very, very curious. Well, Andy, this has been wonderful hanging out, man. I think we've
Yeah.
gone over the gamut here.
No, definitely. Thank you very much for coming along. It's been really good fun. I've wanted to catch up with you for a while. A lot of the people that went to LVO, Nova, Adepticon, etc., said, "Oh, you've got to talk to this guy. You've got to talk to him."
Ah,
And I was like,
nice.
"Well, he hasn't reached out to me. I don't know him, and I feel weird messaging people saying, 'Hi, do
Oh
you
no,
want to
it's the way.
talk on YouTube for an hour?'"
Yeah.
It's really
I'm
weird.
honored. I'm honored, both from the people that suggested it and for you to reach out, man. I just recently caught wind of your channel actually through the interviews that you've been doing. And I think they're great. And so, that got me motivated to start doing that. I hit up Necron Chuck. I'm starting to tag some of the same people, but I love what you're doing, man, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Thank you very much. I'm getting a lot of positive reception about the interviews. It's a bit weird though because, as I understand it, people are using them as podcasts. So
Right,
what we have on screen irrelevant. That's
right,
why I'm doing minimal editing because people aren't looking at the screen. They're
sure.
painting, they're commuting, whatever. Just like I would listen to a podcast. So I should probably release these as podcasts, but I can't. I don't know if I can be bothered. Uh,
Yeah,
but
I
anyway,
feel you.
before we go, do you want to give yourself a shout out just before we go? Warp Charge Game.
Sure, yeah, guys. We're on Twitch, we're on YouTube. It's Warp Charge Gaming, and also we're posted up here in Midlothian, Virginia, at Battlegrounds. If you ever want to schedule for a bat rep or something, holler out, shoot me an email. Also do 3D printing with our side company called Tabletop Alchemy, and I hope you tune in Thursdays live at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time to join the conversation we do every week. Thanks a lot, Andy.
Awesome. And sorry, you also said that you are streaming this weekend, is it?
Oh
What's that
yeah,
going to be? Saturday the
Saturday. Yeah, we
something?
pretty much. What day is that? 14th, 13th. Yeah, Saturday 13th. But we do tournaments twice to 3 times a month. 40K in the first weekend of the month. Kill Team in the middle of the month. We're getting ready to stream Age of Sigmar as well this Sunday. We're doing Age of Sigmar tournament right after the Kill Team tournament on Saturday. Etc. So you can often catch us on a Saturday streaming all day long tournaments here from Battlegrounds.
That is going to be a busy Saturday. Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming along. Hopefully, we can have another chat. Certainly, when Elites comes out or when something
Yeah.
you want to plug comes out, let me know. We can have you back on. We can have maybe a more structured, targeted chat.
Sure. Love it, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, man. Have a
Yep.
good
Catch
one.
you later. You too. Take care.